Although most once tended to hold the opinion that DC outmatched their rivals Marvel in the villain department, the company's resurgent presence over the last 2 decades has brought parity between both publishers. The House of Ideas has a dependable cast of devilish evildoers to play with, and they're just as good as the ones at DC. Given the Marvel Universe has been going for close to 60 years now, it makes sense that their villains have also bested their heroic counterparts on more than one occasion. Sometimes, however, their smartest choice actually ends up revolving around the decision to use their gifts for good, which also happens to be a more common occurrence at Marvel than at DC. And just as it was with DC, there's just something about seeing a villain finally outwit their opponent that's so much more satisfying than the inverse scenario. The stakes are raised, and so is the pressure to deliver. So, I'm Ewan, this is What Culture Comics, and here are the 8 smartest decisions in Marvel villain history. Number 8. Loki reenacts Men in Black, War of the Realms. Loki, Laufey's son, is the god of mischief, tricks, and deception, and with thousands of years spent on Earth and the wider cosmos, it only makes sense that he's proven victorious every now and then. Out of the many centuries he spent scheming and deceiving, however, his best moment potentially came during the most recent one. Jason Aaron's stint on Thor built to a major conflict in War of the Realms, and it saw Loki, ever the trickster, deceiving both the forces of Asgard and Svartalfheim to achieve his own goals. Be that as it may, it wasn't made clear until the most recent event where Loki's allegiances truly lied. Tricking his frost giant father Laufey into thinking he was ready to join his side, the god of mischief reveals his true intentions to stand against him and gets himself eaten for his troubles. Only, he was basically doing his best impression of Agent K's battle with the bug in Men in Black, as he plans a newer, messier kind of attack from within. Daredevil, the newly anointed guardian of the Bifrost, sees Loki inside his father's stomach and throws Hofund into the giant's mouth. Thor's adopted sibling then uses the weapon to cut his way out and finally settle his differences with his dad, cementing that, even in death, there's no outwitting Asgard's favorite trickster. Number 7. Magneto strips Wolverine's adamantium, Fatal Attractions. Depending on how you look at it, this moment from 1993's Fatal Attractions was either the smartest thing Magneto ever did, or potentially the dumbest. Either way, there's no denying it isn't found wanting for iconicity. Magneto is a cruel tyrant most of the time, but he was at his most ruthless in this particular tale, which was actually released to celebrate the X-Men's 30th anniversary. Needless to say, Wolverine has probably seen better birthdays, with Fatal Attractions also marking the occasion Magneto finally uses his powers to wrest Logan's adamantium from his own skeleton through his skin and out of his body completely. It's rendered in excruciating detail by artist Andy Kubert, but the consequences don't stop there. Magneto's act of torture is emotionally motivated, based on the fact Wolverine nearly killed him moments earlier, but it unintentionally hands him a Pyrrhic victory. He makes Wolverine destructible, and when Professor X lashes out in retaliation and mentally destroys him, also succeeds in bringing his old adversary down to his level. Sure, it might be slightly disingenuous to call that a clever move given how it ended for him, but he does basically win, right? Number 6. The symbiote rediscovers its good side, Venom. Whenever it comes to Venom, a delineation must be made. There's the symbiote, an alien also known as a Clintar whose actual name is Venom, and their hosts, Eddie Brock, Flash Thompson, and so on. In this case, a crash course in the symbiote's history is also called for. For most of the character's existence, Venom has been considered evil, and also one of Spider-Man's greatest villains. But while it's true that the symbiote started out as a corrupting force in the comics, one originally written as the source behind a given host's nastier leanings, newer retcons have confirmed that the opposite is basically true. The clue's really in the name. Symbiotes have a symbiotic relationship with their host, and both beings feed into each other. Venom was only evil because it was spurned by Peter Parker and later tapped into Eddie Brock's own hate for the symbiote's former host. So, when it finally realized its true nature during Rick Remender's series when bonded to Flash, and encouraged him to go seek out the truth behind its origins, the results were fairly mind-blowing. Further retcons by Brian Bendis, Donny Cates, Ryan Stegman, and others have turned Venom into a noble anti-hero with good intentions. The smartest decision of all, though, was having the symbiote getting back in touch with its origins and making everyone reappraise what Venom really stood for in the process. Number 5. Norman Osborn assembles the Avengers, Dark Reign. Like Venom, Norman Osborn is most famously known to fans as one of Spider-Man's greatest villains. However, recent years have seen the character expand his horizons past the friendly neighborhood web-slinger, to the point where he's even gone toe-to-toe with Earth's mightiest heroes themselves, the Avengers. It was actually during this point in time where Osborn concocted what has to be his most successful scheme yet. Utilizing the paranoia brought on by the superhero Civil War, the Skrulls' secret invasion, and Tony Stark's own conflicted position at S.H.I.E.L.D., Osborn managed to use his own political standing to outmuscle the former Avenger and replace him at S.H.I.E.L.D., which he renamed Hammer for added effect. While the head of this new defense organization, Osborn fashions his own team of Avengers, recruited from the various rogues galleries of the Marvel Universe. He leads them as the Iron Patriot, a monument to American jingoism that depicts a cruel distortion of Tony Stark's legacy. Joining his ranks are Daken, the self-proclaimed Dark Wolverine, Matt Gargan's Venom as Spider-Man, and Bullseye, who takes on the new role of Hawkeye. Osborn's own dark reign would last for several years until it eventually came undone during a botched invasion of Asgard. Still, as far as villainous reigns of terror go, Normies was definitely one of the most successful in Marvel history. Number 4. Thanos acquires the Infinity Gauntlet. The Infinity Gauntlet. Referring to Thanos' scheme to acquire the Infinity Gems as intelligent is probably a gross misreading of Jim Starlin and George Perez's Infinity Gauntlet, given the Mad Titan was primarily motivated by his own lust. But it's still the case the villain came closer than anyone to destroying the entire universe, or at least just half of it. The Infinity Gauntlet is a seminal entry in the Marvel canon for several reasons, not least because it marked what was, at the time, the biggest crossover in Marvel history. It was typically ambitious and managed to transform Thanos from being just another Darkseid clone into something truly formidable, an intergalactic monster who, for a period of time, actually succeeded in killing all of Marvel's heroes. Ignoring for a second how the Mad Titan found himself manipulated by Mephisto, the events leading up to the terrifying snap reiterates the character's ingenuity. He fakes his own death when confronted by the Silver Surfer, and then spends time researching the gems as a means to win Death's affections. The Tyrant is a pioneer in that sense, and while his bid to make Death love him ultimately fails, there's no denying the actual act of fashioning the gauntlet itself was especially clever. Number 3. Wilson Fisk runs for mayor. Daredevil. Wilson Fisk is one of the most diabolical antagonists in Marvel's library, and potentially even its greatest. He's been a villain both to Spider-Man and the Punisher, but it's Daredevil with whom he appears to be locked in battle with the most. The man without fear revitalized his rivalry with the Kingpin of Crime during Frank Miller's stint on the character in the 1980s, at which point Fisk managed to bring the hero to the brink during Born Again. While that campaign of terror alone would go down as one of the smartest campaigns in Marvel's history, it's a more recent development that was probably Fisk's most ingenious. After Fisk ratted out Daredevil's secret identity to the press, and also after the man without fear managed to put that revelation back in the bottle with the help of the Purple Children, he decided to run for mayor of New York City. Doing so would grant him new powers, even more influence, and a means of vexing his greatest rival through official channels. Fisk has now confessed that he wields less power as mayor than he did as Kingpin, but don't underestimate what he got up to while in that office. He outlawed vigilantes in New York, undermined Murdoch's efforts to make it possible for heroes to testify in court without disclosing their own identity, and is now even more untouchable than he ever was before. Number 2. Doc Ock pulls a Freaky Friday. Superior Spider-Man. In another case of a given character's smartest move also being one that made them a hero, sort of, Dr. Octopus's initial evil decision to take control of Peter Parker's body is one of Marvel's most fascinating. It's gruesome to begin with, as Ock manages to trap Peter Parker's mind in his own failing body, but it ends on a note where Peter begs Octavius to honor his legacy. Then, in a barrage of memories, the longtime Spidey villain resolves to use his newfound body for good, as a new, superior Spider-Man. The most interesting thing about this scheme is that not only does Doc Ock win, in that he successfully swaps his body with Peter, but also that he manages to keep winning too. He gets a better Spidey suit, and takes to fighting crime in a markedly more ruthless fashion than Parker ever did when he was the web-slinger. Number 1. Doom is Rabam Alal, The Avengers. Jonathan Hickman's Avengers was brilliant from start to finish, but one of the best things about it actually drew upon what the writer did on the Fantastic Four years earlier. Early on during New Avengers, Hickman introduced the threat that would govern the remainder of his time on the comic: multiversal incursions. Alternate Earths and realities threatened to destroy the Earth, and it was up to the Illuminati to save the day, but at great cost. They toiled for years, destroying other realities so that their world could live. Along the way, they encountered the Black Swans, cosmic beings beholden to the will of Rabam Alal. The big reveal: Doom is Rabam Alal, and he's been using the Swans as his soldiers in a multiversal conflict against the Beyonders, a group of beings who existed outside of the Omniverse and threatened to destroy all the perceived realities in Marvel continuity. Doom uses the Swans to destroy each universe's Molecule Man, and in doing so goes on to confront the Beyonders themselves. The battle results in the demise of thousands of different worlds, leaving only a select few intact. Successful, Doom then goes on to fashion Battleworld, a mishmash of the remaining realities which he ruled via the help of Stephen Strange, the only earthly figure to discover Doom's master plan. Victor's creation of Battleworld typified the character's tyrannical inclinations, but he also saved all of existence with a plan years in the making. Moves don't get much smarter, and if anything were to back up Doom's status as Marvel's greatest villain, that would be it. And that, my dear viewer, was our list. Let us know your favorite supervillain schemes down in the comments below, and please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Find more stuff like this on whatculture.com, catch me on Twitter at YouRuinsThings, and keep reading comics. Until next time, bye!